So let us continue our talk on peace. Next letter is E, which stands for existence. So the second universal principle states that we humans are what? Essentially spiritual in nature. So maybe some of you do not believe in spirits or the spirit world. You know, there are many books and movies that talks about spiritual reality, like this ones, no? Life After Life, or Light Beyond, or interesting movies like The Sixth Sense and What Dreams May Come. So now let us examine how do we pursue and attain happiness. Everybody wants to become happy, right? Meron ba sa inyo na pagkagising sa umaga at mag-wish ng sana maging malungkot ako ngayong araw na to? Hello? Okay ka lang? So, in order for us, to accomplish happiness, we have to understand the needs of our mind and body. So, okay, so this is you. You have mind and body. So to satisfy your physical needs, you long for what? Food, shelter, wealth, and comfort. Ang tawag dito ay material values. And these are needed for physical well-being. Then how about our mind? So our mind seeks something else. We call this spiritual needs. Like what? Truth that stimulates our intellectual desires. Beauty, goodness, love that stimulates our moral desires. So, when you have this, then you gain what? Inner satisfaction. So both of this, physical well-being and inner satisfaction, are needed in order to experience true and lasting happiness. But what is the problem? Most of the time, we just focus on the desires of the body and neglect what? The desires of our mind. We neglect inner satisfaction and only concentrate on gaining physical satisfaction. So if we do this, we prioritize the desires of our body above the desires of our mind. Actually, we can still attain happiness, but only temporary happiness. So when you ignore your spirit, then you become like an animal. I'll give you an example. So may isang pusa, pumasok sa isang bahay, tapos may nakita siyang ulam doon sa ibabaw ng mesa. Anong gagawin ng pusa? Magpapaalam ba siya? Hindi. Sigurado kakainin ka agad yung ulam. Now, mayroong isang tao pumasok sa bahay na hindi niya bahay. At may nakita rin siyang ulam sa ibabaw ng mesa. So kung yung tao na yon hindi nagpaalam at kinain yung ulam sa ibabaw ng mesa, anong tawag natin doon? So, that person also becomes like an animal. So, it is actually what? An issue of our priority. So, when you prioritize the desires of your mind above your body, then this is what? This is public-minded, and this is good. However, when you sacrifice your mind and prioritize your bodily desires, then you become what? Self-centered, and we become selfish. This is our responsibility. So that is why, the growth of human character is not automatic. Yes, our physical body can grow automatically according to biological law. But our character, the internal aspect of the human being, do not grow automatically. So when you were born, you were like this, cute, right? So you were born with the potential for love. So, but that love is like a plant. That means we need to nurture and cultivate. That means we need to make what we call efforts. And then you become what? You become mature, and then you realize your potential for love. So you are responsible for your own moral development. To achieve our full potential, we must actively take responsibility for the growth and development of our character and heart. So our conclusion, foremost, humans are what? Spirit beings before we are physical beings. We are a spiritual being with a body, not a body with a spirit. So this brings us to another fallacy of Marxism that negates the existence of the human spirit. Our existence is essentially spiritual in nature. and way more than just mere material existence. We are a spirit with a body. So next letter is letter A, which stands for altruism. So the third universal principle of peace is that God's ideal is what? Living for the sake of others. So this is the fundamental principle of relationship, that all created beings are governed by this principle of living for the sake of others or for the sake of the whole. So from, the smallest creation, like the atom, to the largest creation, like the solar system, there is one principle that governs them. And we can observe the principle of living for the sake of others in all creation. And this principle, of living for the sake of others or for the sake of a higher purpose is universal for all created beings, especially for us, human beings. So we were created based on these principles of being, related to each other and not existing alone or independently. So we can say that the basis of our existence is through what we call reciprocal relationship, or the principle of coexistence and interdependence. So I want to invite you to look closely at this photo. What do you see? Looks like this bird is in a life and death situation, right? Like anytime now, the crocodile will snap close its mouth and bye-bye, birdie. But no, this is actually a plover bird that recognizes the invitation of this crocodile. When it opens its mouth, the bird is actually eating the food that were stuck on the crocodile's teeth. The plover bird gets a meal, and the crocodile gets a free dental cleaning. They are both benefited. Amazing, right? So this is the principle of creation, that nothing exists for itself, rather all for the mutual benefit of the created beings. We call this symbiosis, or living together. So this is another example. This is the fish. What do you call this fish? Nemo. This is actually called a clownfish. They like to stay with sea anemones. They have symbiotic and mutualistic relationship. The sea anemone protects the anemone fish from predators, as well as providing food through the scraps left from the anemone's meals. And in return, the clownfish defends the anemone from its predators and parasites. And also, the anemone also picks up from the nutrients that comes from, the poo-poo of the clownfish. Amazing, right? Another example here is the hummingbirds. They have mutualistic relationship with the flowers. Both benefit. The flowers produce food or the nectar, and in return, the hummingbirds help to move pollens for the plant to reproduce. So we have to understand that we are governed by the principle of give and receive action. This is the principle of relationship. So look at this diagram. There is always what we call a higher purpose of greater value that we connect with. Then there is always a subject and object relating together in a give and receive action, like a reciprocal action. When there is good give and receive action, then there is growth and there is development. There is internal character and external form. And there is also what? Mind. Mind is the subject and the body is the object. There is also husband and wife, parents and children, government and people, nation and citizens, in a dynamic relationship of what? Give and receive action. So we cannot deny this universal principle of give and receive action. Look at this. Plants and animals, they support each other to survive. Plants give off oxygen, which the animals need in order to live, right? While, the animals give off carbon dioxide, which is also needed by the plants in order to survive. So the law of nature is based on the law of cooperation. So if you deny this principle, you cannot survive. That is why selfish people are destined to perish. I'll give you an example. So when you inhale, naturally you have to exhale, right? Okay, pangatawan na nung pagiging selfish. You inhale. You don't want to give. So you inhale again. Inhale. Will you survive? No. You will die if you defy the law of nature. So the law of progress in human society is based on the law of cooperation. When there is cooperation, then society can progress. So we need cooperation in all levels of relationship. Look at this. Parents and children. Parents cannot become parents without children, right? And similarly, children cannot become children without parents. Teachers need students as students need teachers. Same with employers and employees. Same with businesses and consumers. So the path of peace begins from the individual, just like the song, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. So we cannot suddenly bring about peace on the earth. It must start first, from the individual. It must start from myself, in my family, in my community, and in my nation. So here, we can see that giving and receiving action has no limits. As individual, you are part of the family. And the family is what? Part of the bigger community. And then the community is part of the nation. And the nation is what? Part of the world. That is why you should not think that I am just a person, one person. I am insignificant in this world. Just like human cells, which are important in the human body, each one of you is significant, and you are all part of the greater whole. This brings us again to the conclusion of another fallacy of Marxism that reverses subject and object position and making the body above the mind. Also, the negation of the need of the principle of cooperation for growth and development. Our conclusion is that we exist based on the principle of goodness embodied in the principle of living for the sake of